I've heard you speak about how all the rockets of desire and how all the thoughts that have ever been thought are still out there.
Yes.
My question is, so in the past when I've been in periods of great depression and had rockets of desire that were unhealthy and not life-giving.
What do you mean by that? A rocket of desire that is unhealthy or not life-giving. What is that about?
A desire to that I wouldn't be here anymore. And I know that death isn't the, is good. But right now I'm really enjoying life, and I want to be here for a little bit longer.
But so, what do you think? What do you think the desire was?
I think it was relief, and I think there was some punishment going on. I think I wanted to punish myself, for guilt that I was having or not being worthy, those kinds of things. I felt I needed, I needed some pain. I needed to.
Well, as we watch you, all of you, and we see you in a time of despair, the rocket of desire that shoots out of you is not punishment. It is relief from the despair. In other words, when you're confused, you want clarity. You don't want punishment for being confused. And so the reason that we're guiding you here just a little bit is because we do not think that anyone ever desires something that feels bad. We think that sometimes you resign yourself and feel that you can't have otherwise. But the rockets of desires that we're talking about are born from the contrast, and they are always about, oh, this is good. They are always, you're really going to like this. Every rocket of desire, without exception, is a glimpse of what you, the source, desires that has been stimulated from what you are living. Oh, that's good. That's so good. In other words, it's a sort of crack of least resistance where who you really are spurted out for just a moment before you covered it up with what you're really thinking and feeling in that moment. That's why we call it a rocket of desire. And so we don't think that you ever deliberately set off a rocket of desire that said, I want to hurt someone or I want to hurt myself. We think that it was a desire for relief of pain that is just clouded because in that moment you can't really see clearly.
That's true.
Yes. So your question about that is?
My question was, are those rockets still out there and can they affect my now?
Oh, every one of them is still out there. But you were asking it in the sense that it was a negative rocket that might negatively affect you. Mm-hmm. And we're wanting you to hear that there were never, have never been, and never will be any negative rockets of desires that shoot out of you. All of them come forth from source.
Totally
People get this is good. People get sort of mixed up about this because you have so many judgments about what's right and wrong. And most everyone will say to someone that they're tutoring, you shouldn't want that, you should want what I want. And if you really pinned them down to it and you would say, well, why should I want what you want? They would say, because what I want you to want is right. And you would say, but how do you really know that? And what it always comes down to is, I, your mentor, would feel better if you would want what I want you to want. So it's necessary for you to serve my selfishness rather than your own. You see? Mm-hmm. And so at the basis of this understanding must come the awareness that you are inherently good. And that all of the desires come forth from that part of you, which you are allowing or muting to whatever degree. To the degree that you're allowing them, you soar. To the degree that you are muting them, you don't. And so an objective bystander watching you when you're full of yourself might say, oh, she's just full of herself. She's just cocky and arrogant. Or you might say, she's sure-footed and in touch with who she really is. In other words, people who want you to be humble usually want to guide you or control you. And they don't want you to guide yourself. What we're getting at here is the reason that all these rights and wrongs get sort of confused within you is because you've been developing your opinions as you've been interacting with so many others who can never see you clearly. They're always seeing you through the lens of their own selfish nature, you see.
There are many common denominators in this room. Many of us want a healthy body full of vitality and financial success so that we can purchase our freedom to follow our bliss and our passion. And what I heard today is if we just get happy about something that's clear and makes us feel good, then all of the rest is going to flow.
And it gets easier and easier, because if you show yourself that you can pick something out of the blue and use it as your reason to offer a vibration, and then law of attraction will respond to it by giving you more things like it. So at first, you have to sort of work to find the thought. But after a while, it's easy to find the thought because law of attraction is shoring the thought up with so many things that match it, until you can, in time, become a projector of thought, observer of good things, projector of thought, observer of good things, in other words, but we're not too interested in you becoming an observer and therefore a reactor. We want you to be a projector and therefore a responder. We want you to generate the thought on purpose that you are having vibrational responses to. You have experiences presented by others, presented by your own life experience, presented by your own conclusions, that cause you to offer vibrations that do not allow the well-being that is natural to you. That's the only reason that you do not allow. Little ones allow. In other words, we think that you get a little off-kilter in your thinking when you think about the newborn that comes forth, because they appear to be so dependent, and in fact, they need your physical support. But when your assumption is that you've got it all figured out, and you decide that you've lived the struggle that you now want to protect them from, what you do is perpetuate an activation of the struggle. So it's like feeding them with one hand and taking the food away with the other. It's like saying to them, welcome to this world that is hard in all of these ways, and let me activate within you all the troublesome things that will certainly make this a hard world for you. And often people will say, well, Abraham, why are we set up this way? In other words, why does it have to be hard? If we are pure positive energy and then we are born into these bodies, why are we so assured that there will be resistance surrounding us? Why does there have to be so much that we worry about that gets our attention and that sets up resistance within us and keeps us from being in the place of allowing that we so much want? And we say, it is because the benefit of the contrasting environment is millions of times more valuable than the negative is detrimental. In other words, if you did not have the ability to discern difference, you could not prefer. And if you could not prefer, you could not vibrationally summon source. And if you could not vibrationally summon source, then we would all cease to be. And so the entire universe is based upon our ability to conclude the new idea, which is the summoning forth of the new life into the new space. And then you say, but wouldn't it have been better if we could have had an environment where it was easier to stay connected? And we say, there is no environment that is easier to be connected than an environment in which you are free to choose thought. And you say, but it's hard to choose a thought that feels good when there's so much around me that feels bad. And we say, only because you haven't practiced it that way. Only because you've been convinced that you've got to clamor around the problem in order to find the solution. And there is truth in some of that. In other words, because there is step 1 and there is step 3. And the clamoring around the problem is what is giving birth to the desire, you see. And so it's all an integral part of all of this. There are some who say that we should not encourage you to have desire. And yet, we cannot stop you from having desire. The universe is established to produce desire. There are some who say it is inappropriate to have desire. And we say those are only those who have not figured out how to find vibrational alignment with the desire. So the desire is always painful. We understand why you would not want to have a desire that is painful, but the only reason it is painful is because you have not yet learned how to allow. So then you say, well, how do we allow? And we say, you find a thought that feels good and practice it until it becomes your proclivity. And you say, oh, that's far too simple. There's got to be something bigger than that. There's got to be something a lot more than just feeling good. And we say, there is nothing more important than that you feel good. Because when you feel good, you've got control of your vibration. And when you've got control of your vibration, you are the deliberate creator of your experience. So when you say, why do we have to allow? We say it is because you were born into an environment where there are choices. You were born into an environment where there is variety. In other words, if you lived in a household where everybody thought exactly the same way, and nobody had any contention about anything, everybody wanted everything exactly the same. You were all born to love pizza, and you were all born to love milk, and you were all born to love the color yellow, and you were all born to love hardwood floors instead of carpeted floors, and you were, in other words, if you were all born with these samenesses, you say, oh, we would get along so famously. We all sing the same songs and we do the same things, and we say you would not be stimulated to a new idea, and a continuing life force could not continue to be drawn within you, because we all need an active calling. That's big. We all need an active calling. There has to be an activation of that summoning of energy. And as long as there is an activation of that summoning of energy, then life continues, and it is our promise to you that life will always continue. And so you say, well, this activation of this energy is a good thing, but my resistance to it is not a good thing. Why do I have to learn allowing? And we say, you would not have to learn allowing if you had not learned disallowing. And you say, that's my point exactly. Why was I born into an environment where I learned disallowing? Why do I have to go back now and learn how to allow? Shouldn't I just naturally allow? Why did I have to learn to disallow? And we say, because you wanted the environment of difference, and you needed to find your bearing, and you needed to find your place, and you needed to decide what you want. In other words, we promised you, you did not want to come into an environment where you just said yes, 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 yes to all of it. You wanted to say yes, no. Well, maybe. Well, what do I think? What do I conclude? What is my preference? Otherwise, your perspective has no value if you are not here to decide, to discern, to prefer something new, you see. So then you say, but I thought we are all one. And we say, we are all one, playing off one another for the purpose of coming up with a new idea. And you say, well, it's painful because now I have to learn how to allow all over again. And we say, you'll be all right. You can use your guidance system to know. If you don't get too far from where you are, it's always easy to bring yourself back to center. And even if you do get far from where you are, it's still easy to bring yourself back to center. It just takes deciding that feeling good is worth something, and practicing with real determination to feel good for no other reason than to feel good. And in time, you show yourself that allowing is not a big issue. It's easy to allow. In fact, it is your dominant proclivity. You would much rather love than not love. You know how we know that? When you don't love, you feel miserable. You would much rather praise than criticize. You know how we know that? Because when you criticize, you feel awful. And when you praise, you feel wonderful. You would much rather know your success and know your value than to feel that you do not have value. You know how we know? Because we feel your pain when you choose the other. In other words, we think that it must be so easy to know the stove is hot. In other words, that does not feel good. It does not feel good to put your hand on a hot stove. And we do not understand sometimes why it is so hard to take your hand off the stove. And you say, my mother had her hand on the stove, her mother had her hand on the stove. Our family puts its hand on the stove. It's just what we all do. The day I was born, they put my hand on the stove. And we say, but now you get to decide how you like it. And you say, but it's hard. Do I dare take my hand from the stove? And we say, risk it and try it. And you say, it is sweet relief when I take my hand from the stove. But look, my mother still has her hand on the stove, and my government still has its hand on the stove. They've all got their hand on the stove. Who am I to find the relief of not putting my hand on the stove? And we say, all right, put your hand back on the stove if you want to. But understand that you get to allow or not allow. These are your choices. And we're doing a sort of sales job here for you because we're wanting you to understand that it's not hard to allow. In fact, the hardest thing of all is to learn patterns of not allowing who you are. It's a lot harder to be confused than to be clear-minded. It's a lot harder to be sick than it is well. It's a lot harder to not have enough money than to have enough money. It's a lot harder to be negative than to be positive. It's a lot harder to be pessimistic than to be optimistic. The hard thing is not allowing. It's easy to allow. You just have to give yourself permission to do it and practice it a little bit. Yes.